For weeks now, the world has been watching with great interest and speculation everything that is currently unfolding along the Ukraine border. There is currently indisputable evidence that Russia has amassed more than 100,000 troops near the border. A Russian invasion of Ukraine could begin at any time, and this is what the United States claims. Countries are urging their citizens to leave Ukraine amid rising tensions. However, in all of this, Russia maintains that it has no plans of invading Ukraine. So how does Russia explain the global headlines that we're all seeing, or the evacuations of embassies in Kiev by multiple nations? That's what we'll try and answer and establish in this broadcast. Moscow claims that the US is trying to strengthen its own propaganda against Russia by citing a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine any time. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused the United States of seeking to provoke a conflict in Ukraine during a call with his US counterpart Blinken. Moscow has repeatedly stated its own demands from the West, that NATO should not allow Ukraine and other former Soviet nations to join as members. It has also demanded that the alliance should halt all weapon deployments to the country. All these demands have been rejected outright by the United States and NATO, and this was evident at the icy exchange between Russian and British foreign ministers recently, when the Russian foreign minister Lavrov rejected a call to withdraw troops from the Ukraine border.
Йенс Столтенберг уже многократно заявлял, что НАТО должна нести особую ответственность за обеспечение безопасности в Индо-Тихоокеанском регионе, в частности в Южно-Китайском море. Если НАТО назначит себе еще и эту линию обороны, вы тоже будете настаивать на том, что это право всех стран двигаться туда, куда захочет НАТО.
European leaders have been heading to both Kiev and Moscow to try and douse tensions or even strike a deal, perhaps. From the French President Emmanuel Macron to German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and even controversy-ridden British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. But no breakthrough has been achieved. Earlier, when asked if Putin is willing to meet his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky, this is what Putin's spokesperson had to say. Listen in.
И ориентируюсь на какой потенциальный результат. Этого понимания тоже пока не вызрело.
Even as the West continues to evacuate embassies in Kiev, Ukraine urges for calm and says that its forces are ready to repel any attack. President Zelensky says that the warnings of a possible Russian attack were stoking panic. He has demanded a proof of a planned invasion, and as for Russia, it has maintained the same stand. President Vladimir Putin has firmly accused the West, led by the United States, of ignoring Moscow's security concerns over Ukraine. So how will all this unfold? Who will blink first? Only time will tell. For a better understanding of what lies ahead among all these tensions, joining us now live is Fred Fleitz, the president at the Center for Security Policy and also the former NSC Chief of Staff. Thank you so much, Fred, for joining us. Welcome to WION World is One. Now, my first question to you.
I'm now with the America First Policy Institute in Washington, a great organization.
Right. So my first question to you, now Presidents Biden and Putin are scheduled to speak over the Ukraine conflict. What will be the tone and tenor of this highly watched meeting? And also my next question as a follow-up to that, what explains the aggressive stance coming from the United States warning that a Russian invasion is possible any time?
Well, I have to say just a few days ago, I thought that maybe the Russian buildup was a bluff, that Putin had done this for leverage to divide NATO, get concessions, undermine American leadership. But I think that the pace of the troop buildup, the fact that tanks are actually on the road driving to the Ukrainian border, and also the way Putin, as you said in your introduction, the way Putin met with and basically dismissed French and British officials, I think the case is pretty strong that Putin is not interested in dialogue. He's not interested in concessions. He is interested in mounting a major invasion of Ukraine. I think the world has to work to try to change his mind, but I'm afraid Putin probably is not going to change his mind.
So what do you think are Russia's intentions at this very moment, despite the multiple narratives that are seeping in?
I believe Putin sees Ukraine as part of Russia. I think he's wrong, but I think he actually believes that. He's afraid of the Western influence in Ukraine, the democratization of Ukraine, and the freedoms the Ukrainian people are experiencing could spread into Russia. I believe he actually is afraid of that, and that's something he wants to roll back. This idea that he's worried about Ukraine joining NATO, that's not going to happen anytime soon. All 30 NATO nations would have to vote for that. There's no prospect of that happening. I think Putin's interests more lay in the fact that he sees Ukraine in the Russian sphere of influence, and he wants to protect that.
Right. Let's talk about Ukraine's stake in all of this. The Ukrainian President Zelensky has said now that warnings of an imminent Russian attack on his country were stoking panic. Now, he has also demanded to see some kind of proof of a planned invasion. What's your take on this? Where will this so-called proof come from?
Well, there's not proof. The problem with incidents like this, it's up to one man. It's up to Vladimir Putin. Will he order the invasion? The Russians aren't going to provide their plan of invasion. And I know the U.S. government reportedly has intelligence that an invasion is coming. I doubt that. I think it's a conclusion based on the continuous buildup and the way that the Russian government is treating nations trying to de-escalate. I don't think there's any plans to give Zelensky of an invasion.
Right, absolutely. I also want to ask you about other countries' role in all of this outside of Europe. How do you see India's role in all of this as tensions continue to rise between the West and Russia? New Delhi has, of course, been a traditional ally of Moscow and has forged strong bonds with the US too, along with other European partners.
I think India could play an important role in weighing in with Putin to say that this is unacceptable and that there will be economic consequences. And India could work with other nations to approach Putin and say this is not a European issue. After World War II, if you signed the UN Charter, a nation agreed it would not try to seize territory by force, that differences would be resolved peacefully, that we wouldn't do this anymore because we did not want another world war. That's a message the Indian government and its allies could convey to Vladimir Putin. The invasion hasn't taken place yet, so it's not too late, and I know the world will welcome India's help.
Absolutely. Fred, my final question for you. Many analysts have also said that President Putin has a lot at stake at this moment, at this point in the conflict, and now he essentially can't go back without extracting some kind of bargain. What's your assessment of this? How will this crisis pan out?
That's a good point. I think if Putin simply called off the invasion, he would lose face, and that may make it harder for him not to go in. I thought for a while maybe he might invade small areas of eastern Ukraine that are ethnic Russian, or perhaps accept some type of a promise by NATO that Ukraine will not enter NATO, or we won't discuss it for another 10 years. I'm afraid we're past that point now. I think Putin has decided to invade, and I think it will be a major invasion.
Absolutely. Fred, thank you so much for all those insights and perspectives, and thanks for joining us on WION at this hour.
Good to be here. Thank you.
WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.